Good morning or good afternoon, depending upon where you are today. We're going to go ahead and get started as people continue to join us. And thank you for joining Retain and Employment First, recruiting workers through the Coalition for Workforce Diversity. And I am Kimberly Wickert with the University of Kentucky Human Development Institute. Today, I have a virtual Retain Blue background. I am a mid-career female with blonde hair and glasses, and I'm wearing an olive-colored shirt with a multicolored scarf. And our disclaimer today is shown on the screen, and it just says that this information is intended for informational purposes and may not reflect the views of the Employment First Council or University of Kentucky Human Development Institute, and we make every attempt to provide accessible, accurate information. I would like to share with you, and I will put all of this information in the chat, next month's employer seminar series, and it is promoting employees' mental health and wellness by using trauma-informed leadership. And Kelly Burke from Humana will be our subject matter expert on January 14th from noon to 12:45 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'll also put the link here where you can register as well. And this is the graphic showing that information too. I also wanted to take a minute and share with you another exciting opportunity that's coming up January 28th, 29th, and February 5th of 2025. It'll be here before we know it. The Kentucky Chamber Foundation's Disability Hiring Academy, which is also sponsored by the University of Kentucky's Human Development Institute, where I sit as well. So I will put that information and the link in the chat for you as well. And today we are going to, our objectives are to hear about the introduction to the Coalition for Workforce Diversity and review how you can recruit workers in your area for the through the Coalition for Workforce Diversity. And while I continue to share our objectives and introduction, which is also that you will be able to refer to Retain as well, I am going to let Kitty and Susan go ahead and share their screen. So let me just make sure, are you able to do that now?
Yes.
Okay, so while they're bringing their screen up, I would like you to join me in welcoming our subject matter experts today. Kitty Zachary is the Executive Director of the Coalition for Workforce Diversity, a position that she's held since 2020. And before that, she was a recruiter with the U.S. Census Bureau and spent 26 years with the KCTCS system. Kitty holds a master's degree, but master's degrees from both the University of Louisville and the University of Kentucky, and believes strongly that every person can find a position that works for them. It's just a question of finding the right fit. We also have Susan Brown, who has a degree in psychology from Georgetown College and over 20 years of experience in the field of disabilities. Susan's worked as a case manager, providing direct support and a supervised community and employment services. And most recently, Susan was a human resources and training manager prior to joining the Coalition. Susan enjoys connecting people to opportunities and resources, and this passion fuels her work as an outreach coordinator. So thank you so much, Kitty and Susan, for joining us today. I have had the opportunity to be part of the Coalition in Louisville and most recently in Northern Kentucky. And I just feel very passionate about what you both do. And so I really wanted everybody to hear about it today. So thank you. I'm going to turn it over to you. I will be watching the chat. So if anybody has questions, we welcome your interaction with us, and I'll be letting Kitty and Susan know as I monitor the chat.
Well,
It's
thank
all
you
yours.
so much, Kimberly. I'm delighted to be here today with Susan and to tell you all about the coalition. Um, we started out in 2012. The coalition's been around for a long time up here in Louisville. I became the director in 2020. Willie Bird started the coalition, and many of you who've worked in the field for a long time are very familiar with Willie. And one of the things that happened when I started the coalition is I heard from around the state, well, why don't we have a coalition in my area? So one of my goals as the executive director is to see if I couldn't help expand the coalition to across the state. So that's what we've started to do this year, and I want to talk a little bit about that. So first of all, let's start about talking about what the Coalition for Workforce Diversity is. It's an alliance of companies and individuals working together to create employment opportunities for people with disabilities. One of the things that I tell people is that we do diversity with a capital D. One of the most important things about the coalition is the term alliance. It's a community alliance. It's not just me, it's not just VR, it's not just our service providers, it's not just our consumers. We are open to our community. We work with our career centers, we work with a broad spectrum of employers, we work with a broad spectrum of job coaches from different areas. We want to work with anyone who wants to work with us. And our goal is to help as many people as possible move into employment. Our motto is creating opportunities and enhancing abilities. So that just kind of gives you a feel for what we are. How it works. The first step is an individual with a disability would go to vocational rehabilitation to get help entering the workforce. A VR counselor determines their eligibility and assigns them to a certified service provider. Each service provider works with a caseload of individuals who are in different phases of the job search process. And then, so you have one group, you have the group of service providers. Then you have businesses. So businesses announce their openings to the job coaches at our local coalition meetings. The coalition is currently funded through vocational rehabilitation to provide the networking function. Future funding depends on factors like reported placements. So what we do is we depend on our job coaches to say, yes, because of my involvement in the coalition, I placed this person. And then we report to Frankfort, yes, we placed this person. We operate on a service contract with vocational rehabilitation. We work very closely with them. But like I said, we try to work with everyone in our community. Next slide. An employer benefits by getting involved in the coalition because they tapped into the underutilized segment of the workforce. Not everyone realizes that people with disabilities are the most underemployed group of individuals in our communities. If you look at individuals who are unemployed, for folks without a disability, that might be 30% of the population. For folks with disabilities, that might be as many as 70% of that population. These are people who want to go to work. but who struggle to find employment because of their disability. They struggled because they need to explain their disability. They may have gaps in their employment. So they rely on their job coaches to help them make that jump back into employment. The coalition can help with that. And we can help tie them to employers who are interested in hiring people who want to go to work. We help employers by training them in disability awareness and etiquette. Many times employers aren't aware of how off-putting they can be to an individual with a disability. They don't intend to be, but they are. And we can share with them just simple etiquette tips that can help make the process simpler for them and more encouraging for an individual with a disability, or an individual perhaps who is coming from a second chance background, or who has other barriers to employment. So our goal is to help employers understand how to navigate some of the barriers that may exist in the workforce. One of the things that we assist employers with understanding is the idea of an accommodation. If you make an accommodation, there is a chance you are accepting a concept called a universal design. For example, let's say an employer hires an individual who is in a wheelchair. They decide they're going to make a cut-off ramp for that person in the wheelchair. Well, not only does that benefit that employee that they're hiring in the wheelchair, it benefits all of their employees. It benefits the employee next to the disabled employee who breaks his leg and is in a wheelchair for a short amount of time, but who needs that ramp. Um, it it benefits the employee on the other side who has to go in for a knee replacement and needs um, a it needs that ramp as well. So universal design is changing your workforce to make it more accessible to everyone, um, and it benefits all employees. And we can help employers understand that and share that information with them. Another benefit is tax incentives and affirmative action compliance. Many of our federal employers or employers with federal contracts have specific requirements for a certain percentage of their workforce that needs to be an individual with disabilities. Oftentimes they have trouble meeting those requirements. We can assist with that. There are also tax incentives for employers who hire individuals with disabilities. We can assist with providing that information to employers. That's another employer benefit for employers who want to work with the coalition. The embedded job coach model, that is something that we have experience with here at the coalition. At the coalition, some of our companies have developed a very robust training programs for individuals with disability that have a job coach on site. That has led to incredible success in their hiring initiatives and allows them the opportunity to hire a number of individuals with disabilities and have a very high success rate with that. And then the final benefit for employers is a single point of contact. They can come to a monthly coalition meeting, present their job openings, and be done. They have presented their job openings to a group of job coaches, all of whom which have a caseload that they're working with. And then they answer questions from the job coaches. And then those job coaches can go back and work with all of their clients to look at those job openings. So those are just some of the benefits that employers get from working with the coalition.
Those are great examples. And we do have a question in the chat about how does the coalition partner with Kentucky Retain from a workforce side? And I'll let Kitty, you and Susan answer, but I would just say from my side, our partnership starts because Retain Kentucky is under OVR, who is the owner of our grant. So that's like one of the first ways that we partner. You all have invited us to be very active in your coalition meetings, and we're able to share information like our monthly employer seminar series. We're able to share what we can do to help people who are looking for jobs that may be eligible for Retain. So you guys have been a really great platform for us to get information out about Retain Kentucky and our services. And you know, I've been able to engage employers by participating in the coalition meetings. And I think even with the Northern Kentucky Coalition, there were a few employers that I met that I was able to say, hey, you know, this is starting in Northern Kentucky. And I think we've had some folks that have been able to come because of that partnership. But anything else that you want to add to that?
Well, the job coaches with Retain are also on our service provider list. And actually, one of your Retain folks, I think, is on our local advisory board for our Henderson coalition we're trying to start up. So, so yes, we do partner with Retain because we're all working for that same goal is to increase employment. Our goal is to have as many connections as possible. Our listserv for the Louisville area has over 600 names. And that is our community partners, our employers, our service providers, our VR partners, our job coaches, the employment specialist. We work with our community and our statewide partners. Anyone who emails me and asks to be added to our list will add to our list. It's sometimes a bear to maintain because every time we send something out, you know, we get bounce backs and we have to correct it every month and stay on it and update it continuously. But that Retain is one of our great partners because we do share the information on their workshops. And one of the things that we do that I really don't talk about here in this presentation is we also focus on education here in Louisville. So that's another part. We share Retain's workshop, but then we also do educational series here for employers and for service providers. So yes, we do partner with Retain. So yes, thank you for that question. Now, this wonderful map Susan prepared, and it shows our new branches. With the addition of the Northern Kentucky Coalition in September 24 and our 3 new regional coalitions starting in the spring, the coalition can assist employers in more parts of Kentucky. I am so excited about this. This is the one thing that If you take nothing else from this presentation, please, please look at this map. I'm so happy. We have a coalition in every region of the state. So we have our Louisville Coalition. We have the Coalition for Northern Kentucky that started in September. Our Moorhead Coalition, we're going to do a kickoff with their Chamber of Commerce January 2nd. And then our meetings will start in February. In Somerset, our meetings are scheduled to start in February. And in Henderson, our meetings will start in January. The first meeting will be January 17th. So it's very exciting. We're in the process. Susan will be working over Christmas break, bless her heart. And she will be updating our website with all the locations and the times. And for all our new meetings, she's designing flyers and promotional information to go out to our website so that we have all of that information pushed out for January 1st. I didn't want to send it out before Christmas because I was afraid it would get lost, but we're going to go gangbusters the first of the year. So this is our new stuff, and we're very excited about it. Next. And these I'm just going to go into a little bit more about how we help with recruiting. Through our monthly meetings, through employer showcases, through our annual career fair, which we do here in Louisville, and through a paired OVR training program, which is another thing that we've done up here in Louisville. These are not necessarily things that will happen in every coalition. Our goal is to have the monthly meeting right now for all of the regional coalitions. The other stuff, the local advisory boards will be determining what happens in their area. But these are some things that we do in Louisville. Next. All of the coalitions will have a monthly meeting. We offer it in a hybrid format. Now, we haven't always offered it in a hybrid format. We used to always offer it in person. I love an in-person meeting because it allows for one-on-one conversations. Unfortunately, COVID knocked out that opportunity. We had to go to virtual. And I have had a great deal of difficulty bringing everybody back in person. So we went to hybrid. So I have a in-person with a Zoom option. We meet at the McDowell Center, which is the Eastern Jefferson branch of vocational rehabilitation. That's where my office is. And we meet in the auditorium, which is right next to my office, which is extremely convenient. Businesses talk about their openings and take questions from the job coaches. After the meeting, minutes are mailed out with details to everyone on our mailing list. Businesses contact us the Monday before to get on the agenda, and the agenda is mailed out to all of the service providers. Job coaches with a successful placement can enter for a $50 monthly prize, and employers get a new employee. Now, the goal for all of the regional coalitions is that they will have these same components. We want to have consistency across the state of Kentucky, and this is one of the things that we want to have. All of our regional coalitions will have a monthly meeting, and they will have a local advisory board. And then they will decide how they want to proceed as far as any of the other activities that we do. Our placements have been primarily through our monthly meetings. So that is what we will continue to focus on for our regionals. And we will let those regionals and their local advisory boards then decide how they want to shape their regions going forward. Here are some of the other things we do in Louisville. We do employer showcases for employers who have a large hiring need at one time. We will assist them in structuring, marketing, and handling applicants in a half-day mini employment fair. We've done this for several different employers who maybe they're opening a new location, they're hiring a whole bunch of people. And again, it's just something we do for the employers who work for us. We want to be of service to them, and we want to help them get more folks on board. The last company we did this for was Norton Healthcare. They brought in 3 recruiters, and we did a morning employment showcase. And so they started out and they kind of gave a spiel talking about, you know, the different positions. And then the applicants came through and they would go to one of the 3 recruiters. They would be interviewed. They would share their resume. And then they would take the pointers and apply for specific positions. It was successful. There were a number of people hired based on that. And that's something we can do for an employer. It's just one of the things we do here. Next slide. Another thing we do up here in Louisville that we have done for several years, and since we've done it for several years, it has become very successful because we've done it for several years. I have a huge group of volunteers who helps me with this every year. It's not something I could do by myself. This last year we had 20 employers. We always do it in October in conjunction with the Disabilities Awareness Month. This year, we had our largest career fair ever. We had 280 job seekers attend. And those are just the folks who signed in. I had folks walk through and not sign in because there were a lot of folks at the table signing in. It does not include our volunteers. It does not include our employers. 280 attendees. We provided ASL interpreters for deaf and hard of hearing consumers. We had the McDowell Center who brought their blind consumers and low vision consumers. And they walked around with guides to help them throughout the fair so that all consumers could be assisted in the fair. We involve the local high school systems where juniors and seniors could come and participate. One of the things I did is I sent out a lesson plan. Oh, I see your question on the employer showcase. Yes, that's a single employer. And depending on the employer, yes, they may make job offers on the spot, or yes, they may not. It may be contingent on a background check or something like that. Back to the job fair. With the job fair, we do partner with the high schools as well. And we do, one of the things that I feel strongly about is that the coalition should also be involved in transition activities with the school systems. So we invite the high schools to send their juniors and seniors. I do a lesson plan for the teachers and email that out to the teachers and the job coaches with the school systems that they can work with their students to prepare them. It goes through a just a list of things that you might want to do. What might you want to ask an employer? What are you looking for in a job? What kind of job do you want? Do you want part-time? Do you want full-time? What questions would you ask an employer? And then we had we actually had the participants have a stamp that the employers stamped, and then that could go in for a drawing. So every year we try to make this better. The lesson plan was new this year based on a recommendation that I received last year. So it is something that we do try to improve on every year. This year we had more counties represented. We started out, it was Jefferson County, but now we have surrounding counties. We had counties from as far away as Owen County come down to our career fair in Louisville. We have all of the surrounding counties that attend, and so we invite them all. Their job coaches are also on our mailing list. So, I mean, we want to involve everyone in the coalition, because that's what it is. It's a coalition. It's an alliance. We want to involve everyone. So that's something we do here in Louisville. But the work with the transition age youth is also something I would like to see the regionals do as well, because I think it's extremely important. I think we cannot ignore high school graduates, that the folks who are getting out of high school, they need to have that connection to the workforce. And I want, as a coalition, for us to be able to supply assistance there as best we can. So that is something that we do as well. Next slide. Now, the last thing I am going to talk about is a signature program of the Louisville Coalition. It is an OVR training program that we do with United Parcel Service. I'm sure you've heard of UPS, but what we started at UPS is called the Transitional Learning Center. And it started as a program through Options Unlimited when Willie was the head of the coalition. And it's still in process today. It's extremely successful. In fact, every coalition meeting, I have the folks from the TLC speak first. And I do that because I believe very strongly in this program as an outstanding model of what can be done to assist individuals with disabilities going into the workforce. When I meet a new employer, oftentimes they will tell me, we cannot have individuals with disabilities in our factory. It's too fast-paced. It's dangerous. They would be a liability. It's just not safe. We're a union environment. It wouldn't work. And what I do is I say, would you be willing to go to UPS with me? Because at UPS, it's pretty fast-paced. It's a union environment. And our consumers who have been through the 2-week pre-employment training program have a retention rate on par with the native population, that is the population that's just hired off the street. They have a safety record higher than the population that has been hired off the street. And over the past 10 years that the program has been in existence, we have placed over 600 people at United Parcel Service, and they are currently paying $21 an hour. So it can be done. It does take an extremely dedicated employer, and UPS has proved that they are. But I just want employers to know that these things are possible. And we have models where we can show you that, and we can show you what other folks have done. We have other folks who are extremely successful employers in different ways. Maybe they don't have a 2-week pre-employment program, but they have other excellent programs. And we're happy to share those, because our goal is to help everyone be successful and to help move people into employment. So that's what we work for. So that's a kind of a quick overview of the coalition and of what we do and how we do it. And so I'm going to allow the rest of the time for questions. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about our coalition in Louisville or the new regionals. Anything that's on your mind.
While we're waiting for questions to come in, just want to say thank you again. That was always really good information to hear. And having been someone who's participated both virtually and in person in the Louisville meeting, and then with the new Northern Kentucky meetings in Florence, having those in person, it's just a great experience for employers who are listening today. I would say, dip your toe in, just coming and hearing what other employers have to offer and how they've been able to provide an inclusive workplace is just a great learning experience. And so I think a lot of employers walk away going, oh, wow, maybe I need to take this to the next level at my organization, because they know that other employers can do it. So I think that's a really great opportunity. And I had an employer who I invited say, well, I can't have job coaches on site. Our insurance doesn't allow it. And I said, that's okay. Those are things that you can talk about when you get to that point. And we, the job coaches can work with you and the consumer, that kind of thing. So if there are barriers, we understand that, but I guess allow us to work through those barriers. And that's something that our return to work coordinators do at Retain too. Don't just let those barriers keep you from, participating in the coalition.
Sure. Definitely. And that's one of the things that we're about, is being solution focused. I saw the question about, are all meetings hybrid? No, my meetings are hybrid. And Susan, I don't know if you can put the link for tomorrow's meeting in the chat.
I can.
Okay.
It'll be just a second.
It'll take a minute, but we'll put it in the chat. So anybody who's on this meeting can go in at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning and be a fly on the wall and see what a coalition meeting is about, because we're meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We'll have a lot of folks online and hopefully a lot of folks in person. But what I have done with the other coalitions is I have said it is up to you to decide what your coalition is going to be, whether it's going to be all in person or whether it's going to be a hybrid. So Northern Kentucky is in person. Moorhead is going to be in person. Somerset is going to be a hybrid. Henderson wants to be in person for now, and they're thinking about maybe doing a hybrid later. So that's, again, it's going to be individual for the region. And what will happen is with our VR contract, what I contracted for was I would start a regional coalition in each region of the state. So we have one in the north, one in the west, one in the south, and one in the east. Next year, we will open it up to other areas within that region to see if they want to do a coalition. What that will look like, I don't know yet. But the goal is that if there are other communities that want to open a coalition, that they will contact us and we will see if we can expand further in those regions. But this is what we have for this year.
And one other thing that I think you all have done a fabulous job on that I believe you just implemented this year is the spotlight on the
Yes.
job seeker. So if you can join tomorrow, I'm guessing you'll have a spotlight tomorrow as well. It's just a really great opportunity for employers to really interact and engage with somebody who is looking for work. I've seen people who are there, who are job coaches and workforce professionals who will say, hey, have you thought about this employer? This employer's hiring. So the job seeker goes away from the meeting with a lot of opportunities for potential employment and the potential to engage with an employer who's in that meeting. And again, I feel like it gives employers a different perspective on the candidate pool that they can recruit from when they're looking for a more inclusive workforce. So I applaud you both in implementing that this year. I think that has been a really great addition to what you all have done.
Thank you. And I do have to say, we had 2 folks scheduled for tomorrow, but one of them emailed me yesterday and had to cancel. So we'll only have 1 tomorrow. And he's coming in person, so that's great. So he'll be talking about his job search and what he's looking for. And so I'm really looking forward to everybody meeting him. We have a very full agenda tomorrow. We have I think 8, maybe 9 employers, and then we have our job participant. We have a training program that does computer training, which is new. They have a OVR contract, and so they asked if they could do a very short presentation on their computer training program, and so they're going to be there. I told everyone who's coming in person, it's our Christmas meeting. So ugly Christmas sweaters, please. And we promise to have lots of Christmas goodies.
And you always have great snacks, regardless of what
Yes,
time
yes.
of year it is. So
Mhm.
if you have the opportunity to participate in person. And somebody asked, what's the link for the 9 a.m. meeting? So Susan put that in there.
I just
There it
realized
is.
that was sent to hosts and panelists only. So I have
Oh,
now
okay.
sent that link to everyone.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions. But if you do are able to join, we will be happy to see you tomorrow. And I'd like to thank Kitty and Susan for joining us today and sharing information about the coalition and our partnership and all the great things that you're doing throughout the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So thank you both very much.
Thank you. We really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks.